Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Tech channel, where it is April the 16th, 2026. Today, what we're going to be discussing is the worksheet change events in terms of automating Excel and triggering actions upon data entry of a field or cell. Now, the practical application here for me is in trading some stocks and keeping track of the data associated with that. So that we're gonna tie those in and make like kind of a practical usage case and application. Now, without further ado, make sure you're clicking the like button and hitting the subscribe and sharing the video with your people. And without further ado, we'll get this party started. So let's get with it. And it opens these URLs really quick.
Got him. Definitely not the greatest at playing this game, but I have fun. That's all that matters. Ouch.
Okay. Now, a little bit of house cleaning before we get started. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show off the updates to the channel's website, techteentronics.net. So we're going to take a quick look at that. All right. So what we have here is techteentronics.net. As you'll see, I put a background, and we got the official pages and such. We got the social media. So I got all the social media, left no stone unturned there. And then if you go further down the page, it lists all the shorts and the videos, and it shows the music by us and stuff like that. And then the update here is I included a search box, some of the latest articles and such, some of the topics that we discuss in the form of, you know, what you call it, the words that are used to kind of help organize the content. I forget what that word is, but whatever. And then we got the archives and the keywords and different things like that. So like what we're doing is yeah, we're just working on just keeping it up. Because my first complaint was that all we had was the videos and nothing else. So what about all this other stuff? So I put some work into that. So if anything, check out techteentronics.net. It tells you what you need to know. It gives you other support and information and things like that. So let's get back to our presentation. All right. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing the worksheet change events, automate Excel tasks, trigger actions upon data entry. The practical application for the day is in trading stocks and such and that sort of thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at how to use it and this sort of thing and where to go to get information and just all kinds of nitty gritty. This is going to be a long video. Be sure to hit the subscribe, and also our sister channel, Tech in Effect, is a Techteentronics short channel. You can look that up and all that stuff. This is where we're going to put some of the shorts and things like that. So that's what that's for. So I appreciate you all for being here. All right. And the music is by Psychotic Orbit. That's my band. That's what we do. And you can go to psychoticorbit.com for more information about that. Now, what we have today is using a combination of Excel VBA, Python coding, I have created a way to pull data based upon the current stock market by ticker. Additionally, information regarding current market conditions is available at Yahoo Finance. Using VBA, make the necessary calculations that support my objectives. The whole idea behind this project is to make sense of the stock market and create something that would help me with my Robinhood account or any other brokerage firm account. The goal is to take the emotion, fear, and greed out of the stock trading process and keep it database factual using the scientific method. This lets me know, based upon my decision of when I enter the trade, the points at which I exit the trade and such. It really comes down to risk management. If you are not able to manage your risk, you cannot trade successfully. This is not luck, this is science. Okay? All right, so I want to give you the financial advice disclaimer. First and foremost, I am not an expert at trading stocks. This content is for informational, educational, or entertainment purposes only. This is not personalized professional advice. This is a hobby and something I'm interested in. It's a scientific experiment for me that I decided to feature on the channel out of goodwill and a heart. Investments do involve risk, they involve loss of principal. Past performance does not guarantee future results. And I choose to develop these tools for my survival and personal growth. Okay? Now, let's talk about some of the basics of stock trading for those that don't know and that are just joining the channel. What happens is stocks move up, they move down. If it's not doing either of those things, then it would be considered a more of a sideways trend, if you know what I mean. A sideways trend. Okay. My goal is to benefit from multiple stocks that trend upward, we call a bullish, over a specific period of time. The stock market trend overall, prevailing direction of the price movements, upward, bullish, downward, bearish, or sideways, neutral, as I call it, neutral. Traders and investors identify these trends using tools like trend lines and moving averages to align their investments with the market momentum seeking to buy. During uptrends, and I'm just messing this all up. Am I? All right, let me go back. Okay. Seeking to buy during uptrends, sell short during downtrends. That's what I'm trying to say. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, cough up the likes, share the video, smash the like button below like a mate after a hot date. Subscribe to the channel if not already subscribed. Hit the notification bell to get all the notifications from us, and we'll keep the content moving. Also, too, you got to protect your information and your digital trail online. We like to use Surfshark. It's a no logs policy top rated VPN, which is independently audited for no logs policy, meaning they do not store the user activity. That user could be you. IP addresses and traffic data are open game for those that kind of like to, snoop after you. So VPNs are used for a few different things. You can encrypt your internet connection to protect your data. You can change the IP address to mask your location or reduce tracking. And you can stay protected on public Wi-Fi with the fastest of VPNs, right? And that's the thing. And that's the thing. When you go traveling and you're traveling abroad and you want to get your local content, you could come to this VPN and set it up so that you're using it in the country that you want to be in to get that local content, so that you're not geo restricted and that sort of thing. We'll provide a link to you at techtinctronics.net, Surfshark. It's right there. It's going to be in the information section and in the comment section pin in the conclusion of this video. Also, we're going to move forward. You get a 30-day money back guarantee and things like that. This is kind of how it works. A little app on your computer or a little app on your phone, and it connects just like that. The pricing is reasonable. You could pay per year. Like I got the whole year. I went with the Surfshark One Plus personally because that plan features data removal by Incogni, and you have other plans available too. But you could see how it's laid out for you there. Additionally, while making this video, I received an email regarding a data leak report that is periodically run on my behalf. Okay. And I want to point out since 2004, a total of 23 billion accounts have been breached. Approximately 7.8 billion of them have unique email addresses. A single email address is breached around 3 times. For every 100 people, 95 unique email addresses are breached. Okay. So I get a data leak report from the Surfshark people. And they tell me for this one email address that I've been safe from the data breach. There's a lot of checks. That's 11,022 leaked checks. I matched 0 of them. And I've been safer. And I've been using this for a while, and I honestly have never felt much safer online. And then if you're looking for a job and stuff like that, this is a great layer of protection to help you in that regard. And I'll talk about that another time. Um, and let's continue on with the presentation. For service, consulting, video, audio, creation, editing, format conversions, website status, spreadsheet builds, web forms, and other business applications, visit us at prewdigital.us for more information. All right, here's the nuts and potatoes of the presentation. The technical aspects of this process are the worksheet change event in Excel VBA will trigger automatically when the value of a cell within a range of cells on a specific worksheet is modified by the user or external link. The code must be located within the specific sheet module in the Microsoft Excel Visual Basic Editor. We currently use Microsoft 365 for this project and many of the projects on this channel regarding this scope of work. So if you go there, what you'll see is this. You could sign in or you could buy it. Okay. And what happens is they have different packages that you could get. They have the personal, and this is the paid yearly side of things. $99.99 a year. That means you just pay that $99 a year, and you don't have to fork up money every month. That's the advantage of that. But on the other side, it's a whole lot of money out of your pocket at once. So it depends what's available to you. Now the other ones, like the Microsoft 365 family, if you have it for your family, this is a good plan. And then premium more for the more for corporate and that sort of thing. So we'll take a look at the paid monthly plans. And for $9.99 a month, you get Microsoft 365 Personal, and that's just a one user account. And then you get the the family plan for $12.99 a month, which is not much more. It's $3 more than this personal, so that's even a good deal right there. Then you got the premium for like $19.99 a month, and with that, you get all kinds of good stuff. So I mean, Microsoft makes a good product with that regard. A lot of places use the Microsoft package. And that's why I kind of use it, because I work with it. I'm used to it. All right. So how worksheet change events work is action occurs when a cell is edited or changed manually via data validation. Dropdown is one of the ways. You could just put in something without data validation. It works that way as well. It does not trigger on recalculations. Use the worksheet calculate function for that, or when the cells change due to formatting. I personally like the worksheet change event feature because there are some situations where a button isn't the best or optimal trigger for an event, and you'll see how it's used in this sort of thing. So like with that, okay, here's what I was presented with. The practical real world application, as I mentioned earlier in the video, is this. I have a spreadsheet that keeps track of active trades on the stock market for me. It's kind of like a quick score sheet that does a lot of math real quick for me, if you will. So some of the functions are built in. The functions are also, well, they could be locked in if I wanted them to be locked in, but because of the macros that run, I don't lock them at this time. The requirement is if I close a position by exiting a trade, the exit price, the data position, closure gets noted, and the line gets moved to the archive section. When lose or draw, I want a record of this information for future analysis. My options here are this. A, I could manually copy that row to the next sheet or to the database or whatever. B, I could use a macro to do it for me while maintaining the structural integrity of the sheet and the accuracy of the data transferred. C, I could do the same as item B, but instead of using another sheet, I can move it to a database instead. Okay. So my best choice of the available options were this. I could do the same as item B, but instead of using another sheet, I move it to a database instead. And here's why. When I look at a complex situation, I ask myself this question: is it something that can be worked out on Notepad? And if not Notepad, would a Microsoft Excel or Google Sheet spreadsheet be necessary in this case? Where a spreadsheet falls short, would a Microsoft Access database be necessary for this use case? And point out, even when I wasn't actively using the Microsoft package, I still held on to the subscription because I used it lightly and it was a part of my life. Okay, now just to give a little uh, rationale regarding my choice in the matter, Microsoft Excel versus Microsoft Access. An Excel spreadsheet limits us to 1,048,576 rows by 16,384 columns. XFD per worksheet for XLSX files. That's a lot of information, but the reason I chose the database is that it's been my experience that Excel spreadsheets with a significant amount of data load and run slow. They tend to crash, and often results get lost or corrupted. And corrupted data isn't all that easy to recover. In my experience, the best practice dictates that you could use quick Excel for quick analysis, flexible calculations, and pivot tables in small, flat data sets. You use Access for relational databases, large volumes of data, thousands of rows, complex relationships between tables, multi-user collaboration, and strict data validation to ensure integrity. So that's why I choose the database, because maybe I have the option to hold years and years of stock data and run reports on that stock data by time. All right, so as with the Microsoft Excel option, I have the option to create an interactive dashboard to analyze historical trade data and have a complete record of my trades and be able to make better decisions based upon real world data. I have never created an interactive dashboard before. I'm just being honest at this time and date. But this is something that I'm going to be taking upon myself to learn about and do, and then explore this topic on this channel further down the line. And if you're interested, make sure you subscribe and all that good stuff, you know? Now, the lessons I learned from last week are such that it is necessary for me to take the time up front to write a code that automates the process of copying data such as date, price, and the stock trading system for the close position and moving that data to the next page for archiving. Then the code should delete the row that has been copied to the archive because I'm only working active trades on that sheet. That's it, active trades. The code should also create a row with the formulas for later use, helping to preserve the formatting and the integrity of the worksheet. And also, I find that setting up stop limits on Robinhood and such has not been effective. What I find is that the amount specified in the Robinhood system that I put based off the information I've been provided doesn't trigger anything. It's just using a form for data entry. So that's something I have to look at and think of a solution for it. But in the meantime, I have to do this stuff kind of manually, which is unfortunate. But doing things manually at first is a great learning tool to help you automate in the future. That's my position on that sort of thing. You have to walk first before you could teach somebody else to walk, or you know what I mean? That's what I say. So upon checking my positions, I discovered that the stop limit orders did not execute while the stock prices breached my thresholds, so I will trade manually for the time being. And that's it. All right, so basically what's happening here is this is a test run of the initial version of this, and what you'll see is when I put a C, it triggers that macro and it moves that data. And then we look at the sheet. I know that it's going to have 103 rows of useful data, and that's what it has, 103. It maintained the rows of data the way I programmed it. And what we're going to do is I ran into an error, and I decided that this particular part of the code that was doing a duplicate check would not be necessary, and I had to omit this code from the final deal. Okay, so another thing that I found is that another lesson that I learned, I should say, is I decided that Microsoft Access Database would be the most appropriate for archiving the trade data detail. Access affords much more line items in a spreadsheet. The database is akin to using a freight train versus an 18-wheeler to move more cargo, if you know what I mean. Spreadsheet will keep track of the active trades, the stock purchased and held until the stop loss or take profit has been met. To get more out of the profitable trades, I decided that I'm going to use a variable risk to reward ratio. So everything I start with is calculated on that 1 to 3. If a condition is met and the trade is running in our favor, I'm going to adjust that to 1.4 risk to reward ratio. I think that adding a couple of columns to an open active trade sheet and one column triggering the slightly higher take profit by use of a formula will amount to us allowing us to take advantage of a stock that is trading in a positive beyond a take profit. This strategy would help to outweigh the loss and yield slightly more profit in the long term. So it's and I love this. I love that first of all, I created this for myself. In order for me to understand something, I got to work on it and learn the math and such and such and such. Now, I want to show you how variable this variable risk to reward ratio works for me. So with that, I'm going to go to screen 1. All right, here is the sheet. Okay, and these are the active positions at this time. Now, I just built onto it. I kind of made these columns they shouldn't be edited, and I could lock them out, but I haven't. If in order for me to say actually lock the sheet, I would have to say protect sheet and put in my password. For what I usually do is put in the password, and then it interferes with the macro and being able to do what needs to be done. So the only way around this is to actually have a macro or so that unlocks the sheet and then locks the sheet after the macro is done running. Now I brought us here for this purpose. And I want to point out a couple of things. Okay. So like you guys remember from last week or so that I talked about where I'm at and stuff like that. If it gets in the green, I might want to say extend that risk to reward ratio. So what I did was I had to break down the numbers to their elements. So I have 4 of these four shares of this particular commodity or stock, and it's coming back with a 2-to-1 ratio, right? Now what happens is I have a data validation thing, and I use kind of a dictionary on the back of the on another sheet. Okay, and of the A column, I have Y and C. I just chose to use Y to keep it simple. So it's set up to when I press Y. What happens is when I push Y, you'll notice that a formula gives me a new target price, if you will, a new target price of 16.33. So whereas it's $3 more than the take profit I initially stated, just $3 more, and it's calculated based upon the data that I have here, and that's how it works. And if I take it out, I hit and delete or something like that, it just goes back to that. So for any active trade, I get that information. If I say what would if you see over here, I have 3 shares. The take profit price for this would be $21.01, right? When I do that, it gives me a few more dollars and a little bit more take profit. And then it's calculating that too right now, something like that. So that's how that works. And then, and this is very important because it helps me make very educated decisions in a chaotic market. And that's what it's about. New going forward, I intend to use the Yahoo Finance. I want to point out that Yahoo Finance is a very good resource for stock trading and things like that. It got news and it's got finance. You click on finance and things like that. It takes you right on the finance page. You can look at the markets. You could get the most active, day gainers, day losers, trending, high dividend, small cap, large cap, most expensive, high beta, pink sheet, and unusual volume. So those are different areas that I could pick because ultimately what I'm looking to do is the equivalent of taking a bunch of short bus rides north to get to my goal instead of like capitalizing on one. So I'm talking about diversity and that sort of thing. Okay. So let's get back to the presentation at hand here. All right. So that's what is going on here. Okay. Let's move forward with this. Um Now, the worksheet change event triggers a series of codes. When I write codes in VBA, in the past, I used to write everything that needed to be done in one code or one sub or one routine or one macro. I determined that that was problematic in terms of reliability and robustness and troubleshooting capabilities because I didn't know what was going wrong. You do one code, it interacts with a different code and causes problems. When one part of the code is done, the next operation is called at the end of the code or something like that. And another one, I just listed all the codes in kind of a table of contents, and that did the same thing too. This is beautiful. It's much easier to troubleshoot and debug smaller chunks of code as opposed to one large macro containing all the automation is a lot better. It's more advantageous, right? All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm providing this content for you and I'm doing it out of my own free will and heart. The least you could do for us is A, share the video, smash the like button below like a mate after a hot date, subscribe to the channel if not already subscribed, get that notification bell so you can get all the notifications from us so we do these deep dives in these topics with applicability to real life applications and things like that. That's what we're about on this channel. I don't make it for the algorithm, I make it for the people. All right, let's go. Um, this is what the table of contents, the steps that I have for this project. Okay, I'm gonna share the code with you on this production, and what it basically does is it's a worksheet change event that triggers the operation as we've seen earlier. It completes the row of data by getting the data, or actually, we're gonna see it in action. It completes the row of data by getting the data and the the date and the current price of the market at the time. The copy row number two is it's going to copy the row to the archive database that I created. Number three, it's going to find the last empty row and copy the following blank row and insert the sheet to preserve the structure and formulas. Then it's going to delete the row that was archived after it was copied. And then it's going to generate a random code to identify the trade and paste it into some column of the database at this point. I started with the sheet and I moved it up to the database during the course of this project, which was a lot of work. So now what I'm going to show you is some of the things that I'm working with here. Um, the scope of the update for the Excel application here is that I created a database and updated the archive trade spreadsheet, active trade spreadsheet to match the new structure of the database. Um, to make it simple, and by using the if statement, it made it possible for me to go ahead and calculate the new target take profit price based upon the risk reward ratio 1 to 4 over my standard 1 to 3 or 1 to 2. Okay. And you use the formula like that. It's f of x. If I use the if so that it makes the sheet look better. There's some parts of the page that I gotta have yet to edit, but that's for here another day. All right. So that's the scope of the update. The legend, what all those little things mean, and I could have did this a little bit better, but I didn't think of that too late. There's parts at the top. Okay. So what I'll do is kind of go back and forth a little bit. I keep track of the actual date and time. So when I open it, I use a code for that. It shows me the date and time because that's important in tracking and metering things. K1 is the total value of the trades at the current value. L1 is the difference between actual cost and current gain. It lets me know where I stand on current holdings. M1 is the amount of open positions. P1 is the total cost of all open positions. The total position R1 is the total of potential net losses, and S1 is the potential net profits and gains, and T1 is the total of profits and gains versus losses. So, I mean, I'm telling you, there's a lot of math that is not fit for me to even do in my head, right? So that's why these spreadsheets and databases come very handy for this sort of thing. So what I'm going to do is just kind of give you a visual of it. All right. So what that part of the thing is talking about is all right, over here, let me scroll on over to get this window right. Maybe that helps us a little bit. Maybe if I maximize it, I don't know why it's doing that. Okay. All right, let's go. Okay, so all right, up here, all right, that I actually manually entered that. that was my buying power, and that takes that into the consideration when you're using Robinhood into this whole calculation. So some things are basically calculated upon that. Then this would be, these are the entry prices. This would be the sum of all the entry prices. This is today's date. This is active trades. This PDF button gives me a report, a PDF report using a separate code for that. Then here we have the current price. One of the things I could do is get the current prices if not already done so, but it's kind of calculated differently or whatever you have. But that's something I got to look at. Just check into that. What when the current price is. The current price is this. Every day I have to kind of, or every a couple of times a day, I have to go in to Robinhood and look at where I stand on these to get the most accurate numbers before any decisions could be made. Now, this here is the total sum of the K column, which would be the extended prices. So what I mean by extended is the current share price times the amount of shares. So if you see this 1171 right here, I got 4 times that, and that's kind of like the impact to me. At the moment, the market isn't really moving as I'd hope, but that's no big deal because I'm going to experiment and I'm going to learn about what different tactics and strategies I could apply to this to keep this going. These are my stops, stop loss, and take profits. And these are based upon the amount that I'm going to see when taking into consideration, not taking into consideration the amount of shares. So when I click the extend R&R for this, if I said it was looking good, you'll see that we have $54 is the take profit. Over here, the new target would be 62.34. But even for me to even consider hitting the yes on this has to come up a bit more, right? And that's what it is. That's what it is. So let me get out of that and I'm gonna hit delete. And then, I could go down each one. Like this one is $4 and it's actually calculating at a 3 based upon my numbers. Another thing too is if the math isn't right, which I had an issue with one of the lines in the math. So what I had to do was I had to go back to my place, right? And I had to take a look at one of my reports regarding this matter. So this is generating from my stock calculator, which is the initial tool that I used in the beginning. It kind of gives me a preface to the market. Yahoo Finance would kind of do the same thing and help me a lot better. That's what I'm seeing, and it's free. I don't have to sign in. I don't have to upgrade to premium, but it's something that I would definitely look at. So at any time, if the numbers are wrong, I could go in and look at it. Now let's go back and see what we have. Um, what we got. I want to, while I'm here, is go into Robinhood, right? And this system that I'm creating can be used on any kind of broker. And the way it works for me, and I mean, don't laugh, my account is small. You got to start small and play with a little bit of money before you know what you're doing with big money, right? And the way Robinhood works is um, you get an indication of all your activity and you get kind of over here what you're holding. And then they have reports that you can run that will help you with this sort of thing beyond, above and beyond what I'm doing right now. Because what I'm doing is in the immediate operations. As you can see, I have the different shares and different things like that. I have access to the prices. What I like to do is periodically, I like to take my open positions just like that. And I like to go in and I need to do this right now, and then we'll continue on with the presentation. Um, let's see. So I see that it's 42.87, and the thing is, automation would come in handy because at 10 a.m. it was 42.99 and it was 42.87. For all I know, this could have went all the way up and it could have breached my stop and then came back down, and I would have missed it. See, that's how the stock market is. You know what I mean? And that's the fascinating part. So I know now that the price at this particular point in time on 16th of April at 12:01 p.m. is 42.86. So I go back over here and I say 42.86, right? Then I go to the next one. Luckily, I'm not holding 100 open positions, so it is no thing for me to go in and take a look at what I have right now. So this one took a drop, right? So the question on my mind is, did it breach my stops? For these particular trades, I do not have any uh what you call it what you call it stop limit, stop loss orders set. So it's incumbent. It's actually important and imperative that I monitor things right now. So I'm going to go in over here. It's 38.14 on my sheet. 38 is it 38.18? 39.18. So it went up $1 since I checked. All right, 39.18. All right, cross check and verify. All right, save my work. And I'm going to go to the next one. Okay, check it. This is important to do periodically because you gotta, if you're not watching, you'll get blindsided and you'll miss your stops if you're doing this manually. Okay, that's why I'm here doing this now as a demonstration, and then we'll get back to the presentation. So it's 41.59 at this time. 41.59, 41.59, 41.59. All right, so I have 41.59. All right, and I see where I stand real time with the calculations. It won't be long. Hang in there. Make sure you click the like button, subscribe, share the video to bring for me to get. See, look at that. Up there at 9:48 a.m. is 11:88, and now it's down to 11:72. Stocks go up and down all the time. You may as well capitalize on the trends that are benefiting your direction. All right, so the perfect time is 11.73, 11.72 cents. And as you can see, for the where I'm at, all right, this scope here is kind of like the difference between, because it's the four shares, 9, 10, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, that's almost $4. That's what I define as the scope, the difference between the take profit and the stop loss. It's kind of a span, if you will. All right, so moving forward, we did, where are we at? All right, Paramount, Skydance. Okay, so we're going to go to H-band, take a look at that. Huntington Bank. The current price at this time, let's see, it was started, it was 1679 at 1667. 1667. It's up 7 cents from when I looked for my three shares. Okay. And then HST, we'll do that. Take a look at that. Make sure you're selecting the correct commodity or stock when you're using this, because that makes all the difference. So in the beginning, it was kind of like the 2075. It went down a little bit to 2064. So I'm going to update my sheet. Now, some of the considerations is I want to maybe, even though there are other instruments that track the previous price movements or keep a recording of it, that's something that could be done that I'm not going to do because of what I just said in terms of that data being available online freely, especially at places like um, Yahoo Finance. Now, for this green one, all right, this is looking mighty fine, right? So if I wanted to do an extended ratio, risk to reward ratio, um, the take profit price was 13, then my new take profit would be set at 1633 just to ensure that additional bit of profit and bet, kind of, if you will, not real bet, but kind of bet that this stock may go up a little bit more, and to get out earlier at 13 would be like a little bit foolish. That's kind of what I do here. So with that, it has to come up a bit more for me to really consider the take profit approach, the extended take profit type approach with the new target. So I'm going to save my work, and I'm going to print this report for my records. It's going to overwrite. I have it go to the same place, and what happens is, we'll just wait for it to publish. It's a little slow in some cases. Um, what it does is it writes that report for me, and it has everything, and it lets me know that the PDF has been created and where it's at. So I go, and if I want, I go pick it up, right? I go pick it up, and you can see the information is time stamped for 1729, which is not right. That's yesterday's report, so something's wrong here. Let me get out of that again. That's not time stamped right. What's going on? All right, there. Well, no, it's not what is going on. So we got it should, information should match. Where did it put the report? That's what I want to know. So we got to run that again and take a look at that line item and see where it's putting it, because something is off. It's supposed to put it in the same place. But that's the thing with automation. If you automate something, you definitely have to pay attention to it, because if you don't, all right, so it's going to my drive, trackers, reports, AT. Oh, uh-oh, uh-oh. It's gone to the wrong place. Huh. Ain't that something? Honestly, folks, I never told it. I never told it to do this. I don't even know where it got that information from. So this is a good opportunity. We'll take a look at that code real quick and see in module 1. So, all right. So it needs to be fixed. Let's see here. So what I'm going to do is open file location. It's got the old one. All right. It needs to come here. So I'm going to copy that address as text, and I'm going to go into this code here. And this is the importance of knowing how to code your own stuff, because if something goes wrong, I don't know why it's doing this. What? Something is off. You got to look at the whole code too to make sure that you get your stuff right. Okay. You get a straight path, directory a straight path. This is a separate code. I might have to step through it. I don't know why it's doing that. Let's see if we can save it. So it should be and even still, if I go there and refresh. All right. I need to run it again to see what it's doing. Okay. PDF, override existing. That's weird. Sorry to take up time on this. This is important. Okay. All right. It's publishing. A little slow. Trackers, reports. So it got named by power. That's why. That is why. Because what happened is it's pulling that off of column A. It's getting the name of the sheet off column A. It's kind of a code that I've used repetitively. So that's what's happening. Okay. That's it. All right. So that's exactly what I'm looking for. All right. So that's no problem. That is absolutely no problem. Because what's going to happen is I could change that. And like, this is little stuff that you could change in the code. Um, I had to put that there, not really realizing that um, that they would affect the operation that way. So I'm gonna put code AT, and I'm gonna save it, right? And another thing I could do is I could go back and I could make the text dark so it doesn't show up. But for all intents and purposes, I am going to change it to the cell that it's pulling that data from, and then rerun the report. So the automation, you got to watch it. You do one little change, and you could have unexpected consequences. And it's simple to expect this, because I forgot that my code was pulling off of that cell A1. So instead of pulling off of A1, what I'm gonna do is pull off of H1 down here, right? That's the importance of knowing your code. Okay. Then I'm going to save my work. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to clean up the mess real quick. We don't need that code or that sheet or that PDF. And then it's going to print this again at 10 after 12, so to speak. All right. And I have my information. Now, just to give you a little insight into some of my um, this discussion here. The current price that I pulled was 42.86. So I look over here and I see that I'm kind of like 79% of the ways to take profit. And then the lower in the red is so where I'm at. I have to compare this number versus that number and versus that number and make a decision. It's kind of a basic thing. You know what I mean? If it's up here, I'm out. If it's down here or below, I'm out. I have the option if it's up here and the going is good, I could say, hey, let's see which, and it'll take me up a little further. That's what this is about. So all of this is subject to change. It is created by me for me. You guys could use it. You know what I mean? If you know how to program this type of stuff, it's pretty cool. I enjoy it. It makes the day fun and sort of things like that. Um, and with that, we got to get back to the presentation. Sorry for the side trip, but that's what happens sometimes. Okay. All right. So, um, we got the legends that I'm working on, and we're almost through this. So I didn't expect it to take so long, but we had a little side trip, if you will, a little side trip. All right, the legend. All the columns have been labeled, so you got to keep track of this stuff because what happens is you might actually forget what you did, and I'm notorious for that sort of thing too, because the mind can only remember so much anyway. So I take it from the stock symbol to the company, all the way to all the different calculations that I have. I don't think I want to go through each one by now. It's getting close to my lunchtime and all that sort of good stuff. Um, and then we had to create the database and update the active trace spreadsheets to match the new structure. So that sort of thing. And I also want to point out when you do this type of project, and this is once again a practical application of such a project. I wouldn't be using a macro just willy nilly if I didn't have a practical application in my life to apply it to. So it kind of it's like a catch, a double catch. You know what I mean, if you will. It's like I'm learning something while I'm learning something about something else, building up my repertoire of skills. And that part nobody can take from me, steal from me, or destroy because it belongs to me. It's up here. You know what I mean? That's what it comes down to. And you guys all have that same power as well too. So let's move forward. The Excel macro update scope. So we complete the row by getting the data date current price. This option explicit is very important that you put at the top of the uh the window for the what you call it. I know what that word is. The we're gonna take a look at Visual Basic real quick. The module. That's the word. It's a word I don't use often, but it's at the module, very top of the module, um, and it helps you get your code error free. Error free code is great because once you work out the bugs, it works robustly, and you don't have to worry about it too much. Things may change, this and the other, but it's pretty cool. All right, now the public. I decided to use public variables because the way I write the code. If I wrote the code in one package per se, or one subroutine or one macro, it would be more complicated to troubleshoot and determine where the error is, as I ran into in the past. But if I break them up into codes, like when I first, my process for writing a code is this: I start with a script, like a movie, like a guy doing a movie, and I say what's going to happen now, what's going to happen in this scene, what's going to happen in the next scene. This scene has to be completely cleaned up before I get to the next scene. So it's that sort of logic, you know what I mean? You like a good movie, I like a good movie too. Well, programming, it could be a good movie. Coding could be like a good movie, you know what I mean? But you're the director, you know what I mean? You you're kind of the star. You know, a lot of people have this what you call it lead character complex and things. You could be the lead character as you program this and sort of thing. That's the beautiful part of this. All right, back to the story. Public variables can be used in any procedure or project. The public variable, if it's declared in a standard module or a class module, it can also be used in any project that references the project where the public variable is declared. Because the code is split up, a public variable is used. This represents the row being copied and deleted. That's what the public change row means. And then the public string is for the string of characters that is generated and put into the database, as we'll see later, for identification purposes. For every trade that I archive, it gets a unique number in addition to the one given by the database. And to get this, I basically use one of my old password generator codes, which contains a dictionary of all the characters that it could possibly use to make it happen. It needs to be passed through the series of macros. That's what we're doing here. All right, so let's get on with it. Now, the first part of this code puzzle is this. We have the option explicit. Do not put your public variables in the worksheet area. And what I'm talking about here is basically when you do these codes, you have the worksheet, then you have the modules, as you can see. Okay. My public variables are up here. When I get through the codes, that variable that the code generates gets passed up here to these, and it's available to use to get to the next macro or subroutine or subfunction or whatever you have you. It's important that you put these up here in the module. I tried it in the sheet, it didn't work. I tried it elsewhere, it didn't work. And that's how it is. Syntax is everything. That's how it works, ladies and gentlemen. So that's what it is. So basically, that's what that code is talking about there, and we'll take a closer look at it. It does a couple of checks. First of all, it says if target count is greater than one, then exit sub. So if there are more than rows, if the target row is more than one, it creates trouble. It just creates a loop in trouble. So that had to be put there. If not intersect target range, so it's basically saying if not in the specified ranges that I set, nothing is done. Okay, then if it is nothing is done. If intersect target range C3 is more than less equal to capital C, if it's not equal to capital C, then it exits the sub, shuts the code down, prevents the looping and things. And I just want to caution you guys, when you're working with this Worksheet Change thing, you have to be careful, because if you don't do it right, it'll destroy your sheet. It could cause a loop. It could cause loss of data. And the thing is, when you're testing these things out, I'm going to tell you right now, do not use your live data. Make a copy of the sheet with your live data to run the test on. And then when you're ready and satisfied that your test code is good, put it back to the live sheet, if you will. That's kind of how I do it. Like if you take a look at what I have, right? Like if you go to the directory sort of thing, I have all these versions, right? Of where I did tests and this, that, and the other. Yeah, it's a mess, but once you get everything done and solidified, you could delete or move them to obsolete or whatever have you, and this sort of thing. And also, it's very good to keep notes on all your stuff too, because if you don't work with it over time, you might just forget it and that sort of thing. And that's been my my little thing. Okay. All right. So now to get through this code, you have to use application enable events false. It allows the code to run without flickering the screen and giving you a headache. You see what I'm saying? And then when the code's done, you got to enable events true. And then when we get to the bottom, I use that. That calls the next line of code, or the next section of code, which we'll get to next. And that's what we're going to do. And then it ends if, because you always, if you start an if, you got to end the if. For every if that you start, it requires an end if. Okay. All right. So that's how it works. You know what I mean? And syntax is everything. If you play with code enough, you could sort of learn what it's saying, what it's doing. And then with the AI that we have, it's a great thing because it helps with coding too. But you have to take it with a grain of salt, because it'll give you something. You have to test it. You have to verify it. And if it doesn't work, you're on your own to troubleshoot it, because AI can't do that part for you. Right? But you could ask AI questions and it'll help you with that, as I do sometimes. All right. So at the time when I screenshotted this, I didn't have that public variable for the string. But when we're looking at the end time capture, so what this code does is it falsifies the application screen update so that no flashing is going on and giving us headaches. And it's going to copy the time and date from G1 values only to change row column G. You always comment your code so that you know what's going on and you have a record of what's going on. I used to not do this in the past, and it used to cost me time and effort and troubleshooting. The cells, so it's basically it's simple kind of English in a way. You're defining you're in cells change row, kind of an active sheet type thing, and it's taking that public variable and assigning a value of range G1 to that row in that column. So we're doing a row reference and a column reference of G. So it's taking the time stamp and placing it in the row before we get it copied and archived, right? Then we need the current price from H to F. So we need the change row. So we definitely define the row. And this time it's going to be column F value equals change row H value. So we're just moving over. Then everything, we restore the screen updating and we go copy row values 1, and that's the next macro. Okay? That's what we're doing. All right. So this one is a very important macro. And I kind of did some shortcuts, which says the less code that we could run and get things done, the better off we are. I just wanted to take a look at the time. And it's right in front of me. Okay. Anyway, we want to look at the this. All right. So for me to get all this information into the database, I had to bring about certain certain things that the code needs in the form of we'll go over that real quick. The references. It needs references. Okay, that's it. In order for some of these things to work, I had to change the references and things like that, and that's how that is. So for every column in the sheet that I want to archive, it has to be called out in the database in the similar way that we move the fields or move data between cells, but it's a different syntax slightly. So once all this is done, my code gets generated and put in the database. And then at the very bottom, what you see here is it calls for the next one. I tried to do it this way, but I ended up having to make it work differently, as we'll see. All right, we're almost through this, ladies and gentlemen. We're almost through this. This is a deep dive, deep dive. All right, look. For this one, the whole thing is you got to find the last empty row and copy the following blank row and insert the sheet to preserve the structure. So this is a complex process, and even I had to hit the record button at the bottom to mimic how I would do it. And even doing that, it could throw you off a little bit because it'll give you lines of code that you don't need. This might not be the best way. And for those that don't know, all the green code is test stuff that got commented out. I have the option of cleaning that out. But basically, it's doing it's determining what is the last row in my sheet, my worksheet, the actor trade. Then it's taking that last row, it's selecting it all. Then it is copying it. And then it's doing a with statement. Well, copy, offset, shift down, cell down. And then it's basically doing kind of what I would do if I went and sort of did like this. You know what I mean? If I went and grabbed a row, hit copy for the blanks, for the values in this set, and then move it up or down. The whole idea is when I do the archive, the last row for now is 103. I put a line and a marker down there. I even set up a copy of the line item to be preserved just in case type of thing. But the code is pretty robust. It does what it wants. It does what I need it to do, not what it wants. And then it preserved the structure of the sheet because I wanted 100 rows and I wanted to stay at 100 rows. You see what I mean? That's how that works. Okay. All right. So that's what the whole purpose of this particular portion of the code does for us. All right. Now we want to do a delete row that was archived. So after everything is said and done, we basically want to select that row and delete it. The order that I did it, it kind of got moved around a little bit because in the midst of troubleshooting, and it took time. Let me go back here and explain what that code is real quick, okay? All right. So basically, it calls for the source sheet to active trade, activates the sheet, goes to my change row. That change row is for the row, and it deletes that row that we just changed in the course of this. Only one row can be worked at a time during this cell, during this whole series of macros. Then it saves the workbook, restores the screen update, and after stopping the screen updating, then it calls for my random generator. Okay, so what that is the password generator, sort of. That generates the random code into the sheet so that I have something else as a control number to, I guess you could say, identify my trades with. You know, something I could look up and search when I put the search feature in. And it's basic in that you have to declare some things like the target sheet that this is going to go from, and the link even the target sheet, because we're not at this point using the sheet, we're using the database. It's a little different. um it's for it's calling the target sheet, and then anything, it's going to randomize this dictionary of characters or the bank of characters. And this is basically a password generator. Every possible character is here. Okay, it's kind of like a lottery. It's going to pick random characters. It does it to the length for now of 7. So length, you could equal it could be 12, this, that, and the other. When I use it in my password generator, which I'll demonstrate right quick, okay, and this is exactly where I got from. When you write a code and you wrote it, you save it, you store it, you use it. You use it in different projects. No sense in figuring out uh, other ways to do the same thing unless you got a better way to do it, or going above and beyond. What happens is once I hit that button, what it does is it takes this code, and I can change this password length at any time, you know, generate, and this, that, and the other. It generates a code. So when I open up, that one action there is a so this code was modified in order to help me do this project, if you will, and sort of thing. So it's kind of built into this. It's just modified a little bit, and it's modified in a way to help me. And I'll show it again. Let me go back to screen one. I'm sorry. Okay, what happens is if you use this, you have the VBA password generator. Okay, and it loads, and you could set the amount of characters to 1. If I generate 1, it takes that one character, puts it there. If I change it to 17, or I mean, and I hit generate, it takes the code, generates it, and puts it in my clipboard for me with a simple set of commands. Let's see what happens when we put 81 characters. We generate it, it gets copied, and it gets put there. So that's one of the things. I probably talked about it on the channel before, and that sort of thing. Okay. No, we're not going to save it. I'm going to put it back to 15, save it. And even when I close the sheet, it gets saved through another code. So that's how that works and stuff. Okay, so it's modified to put that code into the database, and that's what we're talking about. Okay. Now, the libraries, I briefly mentioned the libraries that we're going to need. And how you would do that is in your coding section of the Microsoft Excel, or wherever you're running the code. It could be in Outlook, it could be in your Access database, it could even probably be in your publisher, or your spreadsheet, PowerPoint, different things like that. But these are some of the references for your VBA project if you choose to go about it this way. If you choose just to deal with the sheets, you're not going to need the data, the ActiveX data objects, or the ADO. But the more stuff you have, the bigger your sheet is in terms of loading. So there's no point in having additional references for what's not needed. You want to have the references that you need, because if you don't have the correct references, what's going to happen is you're going to run into errors. And the thing that I like about this, all right, here's what you're gonna run into: syntax errors. And I wanted to I didn't have everything properly laid out. And if you use AI to help you with some of this, it's not necessarily going to tell you the best location right off the bat where you want to put your code. You kind of might have to figure that stuff out. And I'll tell you right now, I am not the best coder of Microsoft VBA. but I came a long way since I started. You know what I mean? All I started with was the record button. So some of the things you could do to help you troubleshoot code is that red I put in stops at certain points to see what happens. So I'm able to step through the code by pressing F5 to see in slow mo kind of what's happening with the code. My syntax is all wrong. So what I have to do is I have to bring it down to its purest form. And this is the part where I'm trying to get my passcode into the database, right? And what ended up happening is we'll see what happens. That is not the correct way to do it because the variable is already um, done as specified as the type of data that it is. And in this case, it would be a string, right? A string. So learn the data types. If you don't know the data types, learn the data types. A string is like it's good for text and things like that. Um, so I'm thinking, what I'm doing is I'm looking for where I could put this. At. I mean, so basically, what has to happen is you have to have everything in the right place so that you could get the right result at the right time. Essentially, what we want is when all the data has been copied, we want that separate line of codes or the separate lines of code in that subroutine macro to basically supply a password for our trade, a unique password. Yes, there's a number feature in the database, but I want another form of control. You know what I mean? And that's an optional thing to do. So every little option that you want, and sometimes I could get pretty spoiled about things. I'll sit there and work at it until I get it to work to a satisfactory level. And because it's a necessary item, it adds another key that I could search. Because what could happen is you could have different times that I trade the same commodity or stock, and I want to compare like historical data and how it affected me. That's the beauty of it. That's what I could do, actually. So we had to get the public variables in the right place and that sort of thing. And then I ran the test, and I ran into this invalid qualifier. Reason why is because, as I said before, it automatically knows that it's a string. So all I have to put is str, and it should work, right? Let's try to step into it using that shift F8, something like that. If you press F5, I think it just runs through the code, skips all the stepping through. All right. And the thing about VBA is that like in a lot of different programming languages, it gives you a hint, if that, of what you did wrong. But then there's other errors that you could make that go through the checking process, but cause unintended results and things like that. That's the other thing that you have to do to watch out for. Um, I miskeyed the status, and that gave me an error for that. And then what I had to do is I had to run into it, step into it, and that sort of thing. Mm. And it tells me row 9 copied successfully. That's good news. That means our code ran. Okay. So now, if I go and I look at my database, like, first of all, I look at my thing, that row is gone, right? My sheet is intact as far as structure. I go into the database that I created for this process, and I created a table. And that data, that auto number, well, it's showing like kind of like a thing. Let's take a look and see what I have before I continue. Let's go and take a look at it while we're at it. Okay, bear with me a second here. So if I go into the archive, I bust out that stock data. Um, it'll and databases are cool. You can make them kind of like I've done things like have it so that you have to log into it. You can share it with your company and different things like that. So we call it autonom. Okay, I just wanted to see something. Um, like I'm always checking up on myself. So what happened was we took that off the sheet and it went through and moved everything from the scope, extended, stop loss, take profit, historical, the count. Okay, so the current price was 90 at the time, 90.55, right? Take that times two, And 2 times 9 is 180. So that's your extended for the two shares. At take profit, the scope of the take profit was calculated to be the difference between the stop loss and the take profit, which is exactly that 20. So it's all calculated correctly. Um, P&L, I didn't gain or lose because I didn't really trade it. I just kind of did it as a test and everything like that. Everything that we have asked for is included in this. If I were to put a yes, it would show up here and it would show up with the new target that we took. So that's exactly how that works, if you know what I mean. That's what it's about. Okay, that's it. So let me go here. Save this. All right, get out of it. Back in here. All right, we're almost done, ladies and gentlemen. So that's what that's about. All right. So now what's going to happen is I had to delete some additional columns that weren't needed at that time, and I had to or delete a field exactly. And then it has my information, as you can see. If you can't see it, sometimes the data is too big for the field, and this is valuable. Having a database is valuable because if you know what you're doing, you could write reports based upon queries, and you could add forms to help with those queries and put search functions and things like that. And I know so much about databases because when I started with computers back in the early 90s or so, I used to play around with databases. I was like, oh, cool, a database. You know what I mean? But even before then, I used to play around with typewriters and forms. So that was kind of my wheelhouse. Okay, the possibilities are endless in conclusion. We have built upon what we learned last week with real world data. We have updated the system to have a variable risk to reward ratio to extend the window for capturing profits and minimizing the impact of the losses. I think about 1/5 to 1/5 to 1/7 of the stocks picked to result in a profitable trade. I'm currently seeking better ways. We'll be utilizing Yahoo Finance to help us determine different things and things like that. Also, too, I'll probably even if they interest me enough, I'd probably share them with this on this channel. Because although we are a tech channel, the whole process is we don't write the videos for the algorithm, even though the algorithm helps, and it would help if you click the like button for the algorithm, this, that, and the third. But I write videos for humans to consume, not an algorithm. Okay. The long term goal here is we want to get a 20 to 25% capital gains rate and be reinvesting those gains for growth. This is not that far fetched. This is like almost like as good as the 401k, you know what I mean? Or a little better in a way. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you share the video, smash that like button below, like a made after a hot date. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. Hit the notification bell to get all the notifications from us. And a few other items. If you don't have a VPN and you're not covering your trail on the internet, you are living in a dangerous situation because the internet of yesteryears is not the internet of today. There are very unscrupulous individuals out there that are very technical savvy and they put it to terrible use. That's just how it is. It makes you a target, it makes me a target, and we have to stay up on it. It's a cat and mouse game. So one of the ways you could do it is have a VPN. When you log into your VPN, have that the other that two-factor authentication so that you can get in and nobody else can get in or without having say at least your device and your face to get in the device, if you know what I mean. But anyway, you can encrypt your internet connection and protect your data. They have a no logs policy to not be storing user activity, IP addresses, or traffic data. You can change the IP to mask your location and reduce tracking. You can stay protected on a public Wi-Fi using the fastest VPN. You can get Surfshark because they have a 30-day money-back guarantee. We'll provide a link for this in the comment section area of the video. Also, we'll provide it in the information section of the video. TechTeamTronics.net, Surfshark. And even when you go to our site, you'll see that we have some things relating to Surfshark that you can look into too, and it'll take you exactly there where you need to go and that sort of thing. Moving forward, we'll show you real quick how it works. You connect, it shows you your IP address, which is being covered up for the sake of privacy and things like that. We don't want to show their IP addresses that are being used. It gives you a couple of attempts. These are some of the pricing. I personally recommend Surfshark 1 because then you might pay a few dollars more, do it the yearly annual payment plan, and then you get that identity theft coverage, and then you also get the data removal by Incogni. It's an amazing package. My life has never been much better without a Surfshark VPN, and I just use it for like a project. You know what I mean? And this is a copy of the data leak report. If I did not have Surfshark VPN, I'd be all up in the midst of that data leak report. My phone would be ringing with these callers with the soliciting, which I don't understand, or I don't accept solicitation like that. If I'm not coming to you looking for a product, that means I don't want a product. And I wish that these people would just respect that, but they're not capable of doing so. And that's just how it is. So that's why it's important that we have to arm ourselves with knowledge, and we have to use the technology that is available and affordable to us to protect our data. Okay. That's why I say get your Surfshark. And additionally, for service consulting, video editing, audio creation, conversions, website setups, and things like that, business applications, visit us at PRW Digital. When you go there, it's just a simple site that I built myself using some different things. And you can go into it. There's a form and stuff like that. And we'll help you. You tell me about your project, and I'll guide you and give you a quote on how you want it done, or talk with you about that. Give me 3 days and we'll have it set up for you. You know, as far as quote wise, not the project. That's a different story. We have to give you a timeline. So thank you for watching. It's been a pleasure. Be sure to subscribe, hit the smash the like button, and all that good stuff. I've been talking for an hour and 16 minutes in this straight with all the craziness in this video. Be sure to like the video on your way out, because I definitely do the hard work. I'm in the process of not looking at quantity, but looking to bring quality content for the human consumption, not the YouTube algorithm, if you know what I mean. So with that, ladies, we're out of here. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Take care.
You're in the mix with the one and only. It's DJ 3D.